now. All right, everyone, welcome to Force 13 live streaming service. We are here to discuss the potentially catastrophic effects of Hurricane Michael heading towards the Big Bend area of Florida. The latest information from the National Hurricane Center has come out, and it shows the storm continues to rapidly intensify as it comes ashore. The current wind speed is 150 miles per hour with a minimum central pressure of 923 millibars, which would make it one of the strongest United States landfalls on record. Joining me on this stream, I have Hank along with Orlando. If you guys can introduce yourselves.
Good
Well,
afternoon.
All right. So, pretty much it's situation critical right now for Hurricane Michael. If I can scroll very quickly to satellite imagery.
who's calling me?
There we go. And we also have Cyclone Titley in the Indian Ocean, as you see there on the left. That is making landfall, or very close to making landfall in India as we speak. So, but I want to hear from you guys. What are your guys' comments currently on Hurricane Michael?
I'm still shivering looking at it. I mean, this thing went off last night. It just continues just to get more and more intense over time. This storm is just going to be worse and worse for the Florida Panhandle. Obviously, I'm still kind of trying to wrap my head around it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It should be noted that we currently have an extreme wind warning in effect. This just got put out not too long ago. National Weather Service Doppler radar has indicated extreme winds in excess of 130 miles per hour moving ashore now. This is an extreme wind warning for Gulf County, Southern Bay County, and southwestern Franklin County. Pretty much the entire region in between Panama City and Apalachicola. You guys are getting the strongest eye wall right now of Hurricane Michael, which is still intensifying. And we should be getting some recon data coming through soon. And they have not gone through the center yet, so we're still waiting on that.
Yeah, it's really terrible seeing how this all is developing over the last few days. It wasn't looking like it would get this bad just a few days ago, and now we're here on the verge of borderline Cat 4, Cat 5 storm. We're probably going to reach 155 miles per hour if it keeps on like this. And pressure continues to fall, even as it approaches land and even as it's on over shelf and water, which is quite shallow. And also with adding to the storm surge, so it's not good.
Yeah, the stronger the storm gets, the higher the storm surge is going to be. I currently have the latest slider imagery on Hurricane Michael now, and you can see the strongest wind band currently ashore in the extreme wind warning area. So right now, the worst of the storm coming ashore. The convection looks like it is still doing a great job of maintaining. The eye does not seem to be deforming at all. And obviously, the pressure continues to fall.
So, what would its current CDPS rating be right now?
The current CDPS rating of Hurricane Michael is going to be a stage 7. It isn't going to get any much more than that because of how small Michael is. And that's mainly the reason why storm surge isn't expected to be well in excess of 20 feet is because Michael is a very small storm. Likely the surge may be very localized areas of 20 feet, but more likely to be in the 15-foot range for surge. That's still a story and a half worth of water, so that's still going to be extremely devastating for any coastal areas. Of course, 130-mile-an-hour plus winds coming ashore now. That is extremely concerning, to say the least. And yeah, there's really not much more to say about Michael. We're pretty much all frozen for words at the moment because we're potentially looking at the third strongest hurricane to have ever made landfall in the United States on record. I mean, it's at 923 millibars now. All it needs to do is get to 920 to be tied for third. That record for being third is already a tie between Katrina and Maria of last year. And if it gets into the 910s, it will be a stronger landfall and would be the strongest U.S. landfall since 1969. Which is, again, crazy to think. As Orlando said, not many people expected the storm to get this strong. Even the most fringe people were saying Category 2, Category 3 not too long ago. And now here is, a few hours away from making landfall, borderline Category 5, not weakening. An extremely dangerous situation currently unfolding with Hurricane Michael.
Whereas in at least the recorded history back to 1851, there's never been a hurricane on hitting this portion of coastline ever. So
yeah,
if y'all were thinking that because it compares to previous hurricanes, like, oh, it wasn't that bad, this is going to be worse because you like this in at least the past 150 years.
There's been nothing.
Single storm has been a Category 4, for that matter, that's hit this portion of coast, and this one's bordering on Cat 5 right now.
Yeah, Hank and I were actually taking a look at Category 4 impacts, and I think the closest one that we found was Frederick of 79.
Yeah.
And that was over in Alabama. So that is
and
way
that
off
was
to the
still borderline
west.
too. That one was still pretty borderline as well.
Yeah, and that was a borderline Category 3, Category 4. This is much stronger than that. I would like to say, though, for the viewers, if you do have any questions, comments, or concerns, please do not hesitate to tag us in the comments, Force 13, all in text. This way, we will be able to read your questions on air and hopefully answer as many of them as we possibly can. Are you seeing anything right now, Orlando?
Not as of yet. I left a message in the chat. If anyone had any questions, don't be afraid to ask. Basically.
Yep, and I just scrolled over to it on the stream right there. There is all of our contact information for Facebook, Twitter, Skype, Discord, email. If you want to contact us, that is how you contact us. So don't be afraid to shoot us a message, even if it's privately. We will try our best to get to it, but just realize with the large volume of comments that we're currently dealing with.
Okay, so we got a question.
Yep.
It's from I Hate Names at 413. Is a brown ocean effect going to happen with Michael?
Now, the brown ocean effect, for those that don't know, is when a storm goes over land and ends up intensifying. This is not forecast to happen. Michael is forecasted to deteriorate very quickly while going inland. But even though it's forecasted to deteriorate very quickly, there will still be hurricane force winds going into Georgia in southeastern Alabama, as well as tropical storm force winds extending well out into North Carolina. As I pan over to the cone for Hurricane Michael here, as you can see, still, It just refreshed on me. I'll scroll over again. There we go. Hurricane force winds will make it into Alabama and Georgia. Meanwhile, it's forecast to stay a tropical storm into South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia. All supposed to get tropical storm force conditions.
And those are some of the
And
same that. Sorry, go ahead.
and it's expected to retain at least storm force, although it won't be tropical, as it moves off the coast of the United States and potentially affect Atlantic Canada.
Yeah, it's going to be lasting a bit, even into North Carolina, South Carolina, dropping rain that's not needed at all. There could be localized flooding. Rivers that have been recovering from major flood stages could be brought back up into some level of flood stage, and it's not a good situation when it's affecting the same areas that have been hit previously, not too long ago.
Absolutely. 6 to 10 inches of rain forecasted for both of the Carolinas that have already in areas that have already been saturated by 2+ feet of rain from Hurricane Florence earlier on. So this rain absolutely not needed for these regions.
Yeah, not at all. And, unfortunately, the same areas are yet again still going to be hit anyway. And, we're looking at borderline Cat 4, Cat 5 making landfall in
Yep.
Florida. Then we're going to have that same amount of wind, although decrease over a period of time, is still going to be bringing strong winds and heavy rain to portions of southeastern Alabama and Georgia, all the way up to the Carolinas, and
Now one
that's not good.
Now, one thing I would like to say, at least something that I've noticed, it does look like that the storm's picked up a bit of speed in the latest frames, and it really seems to be accelerating towards landfall, which, to be quite honest, is actually good news because that's the less time that it will spend over water, and therefore the less time that it will have to strengthen. Also, it seems like the minus 80 degrees Celsius cloud tops on the bottom of the southern side of the storm, rather, those have been all but diminished as well. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the storm is not strengthening. We're still waiting for the recon data to come through. Still has not come through yet, to my surprise. We're just waiting for that. Meanwhile, of course, there are other storms in the world. We have Cyclone Titley, which is making its way onshore in India as well as a Category 2. We have Cyclone Lubin, which is currently in the Indian Ocean and is making its way towards the southern Arabian Peninsula. We have Salalah, which was affected by Cyclone Mekunu earlier on this year. It looks like it'll stay well to the south of Salalah, though, and move into, I believe, that is Yemen.
Yes.
Okay. We have Leslie. Leslie is still active, and in fact, it's expected to stay active for the next 5 days as the National Hurricane Center now expects it to loop back to the south and west at the 4 and 5 day mark and remain a tropical entity. Leslie, a hurricane right now. And here is Sergio, which is expected to impact the Baja California Peninsula in the coming days as well as a weak tropical storm. And you can see the cones for those 3 storms there.
And then also of note, Tropical Storm Nadine in the middle of the.
Yep, we have Tropical Storm Nadine in the middle of absolutely nowhere. You could see it right here on the 2-day graphical tropical weather outlook. Nadine, 65 miles an hour now, so maybe that will become a hurricane too. Who knows? Not expected to strengthen, but it also is absolutely irrelevant.
Yeah.
No disrespect to a hurricane, but or at least something that might become a hurricane, but it is absolutely irrelevant right now. Our recon data still has not come through, so I'm just going to assume that we're not going to get data for the latest pass through the eye, because of course we're not going to. And it looks like, yeah, with the increase in forward speed, maybe the landfall will happen a lot earlier than originally anticipated, because, as we said, the extreme wind warning is out, and now here it is, imagery that's 10 minutes old. It looks like the outer edges of the eye are starting to move ashore now.
I'm just looking right now at current radar imagery of Michael right now, and it appears that some of these outer intense bands right now just right through Panama City, and there's another pretty intense band that's about to move through Apalachicola. One that is moving through Port St. Joe, about to hit Mexico Beach as well. The eye wall is still probably about a good, let's see, probably about 25 miles offshore, the center of the eye at least.
Yeah, something like that. I'm trying to see which radar is the best.
I have radar scope up right now, and
Oh, there you go. Right there. That's probably the best radar. And look at that. That does not appear to be weakening at all, folks, as it's moving ashore. That is for certain. And the eye wall, the very, very strongest of the eye wall, is going to be moving ashore soon. So again, I'd like to reiterate an extreme wind warning currently in effect. Gulf County in the Panhandle of Florida, Southern Bay County in the Panhandle of Florida, and southwestern Franklin County in the Big Bend of Florida. Eye wall is moving ashore right now with winds in excess of 130 miles an hour. Please treat this as if you were in a tornado. So, very important what you need to be doing if you're in the middle of this storm and you're somehow still connected to us. Get into an interior room, get some kind of heavy object in front of you, a mattress, a table, something to protect yourself from flying debris, as the strongest part of this storm moves ashore here in between Panama City and Apalachicola.
Yeah, it's the good thing. The only good thing is it's now moving. It appears that it's approaching landfall. The bad news is it's still deep.
On just made a pass through the center here. I'm seeing extrapolated surface pressures of 918.7 millibars.
So it
9.3
dropped
millibars.
another millibar, so now it's down to 922.
Yeah.
The last extrapolated pressure that came through was 919.9, so it dropped another millibar.
Level ones of Category 5 force in the southwestern quadrant as well.
Category 5 force flight level winds, southwestern quadrant.
It's rapidly approaching the shore as well.
Yeah, that was probably the last recon fix. Maybe they might be able to fly in through it one more time before landfall.
that's about a good 15-mile difference between there where the center passes were, probably within the next 2 hours.
Yep. Any comments on the stream?
I'm looking. Let me take a quick look through. People relaying the intensity. Oh, here's a good one. What's the most dangerous part of Hurricane Michael?
Right now, as far as what the recon data has gone through, the southeastern quadrant currently has the strongest winds, which
I
is
think
weird because you would usually expect the northeastern quadrant to, but the southeastern quadrant actually contains the strongest winds in Michael this time.
I think what he might be referring to that in that question is maybe what's the most dangerous threat.
Well,
Most
as far
dangerous
as the
threat
most dangerous threat with Michael, I would probably say wind. Absolutely, without a doubt, it is actually going to be wind in this. I mean, you're still going to have the very dangerous surge, but you're going to have uh, basically F4 level winds moving through an area which doesn't really have a lot of infrastructure that is prepared for a hurricane of this intensity.
Yeah,
So,
I've been down to this portion of coastline like once or twice, and I could tell you for sure that there's a bunch of creatures just sitting there on the beaches that cannot sustain anything near this level of wind. If anything, just projectiles. The pieces of wood are just going to fall off and just become projectiles through the wind, and
yep.
just going to make exponentially worse in that case.
And it's
I mean,
just
there are some houses along the coast that can sustain this damage, but all the structures, the weaker structures on the immediate beaches, torn apart probably, and just make the wind damage just result.
Yeah, there's very little that could withstand these type of conditions, especially if regular housing.
all right, trying to figure out if that was. I don't think that was. No. Okay, so that wasn't the latest pass through the eye, so that's not the latest drop zone.
Devin, do you believe that Michael could still get to 155?
I think it is. Based
And
on
if
the
it,
recon data, I think it's very possible.
it's not good.
You can see right here on radar, Hurricane Michael coming ashore. The strongest winds will be coming ashore very shortly.
I'm just relaying through the comments, seeing if I missed any questions. Just some questions about like, is it possible?
Is it possible for Matthew to be a cat? I mean, yeah, there we go already. For Michael to be a cat 5, maybe.
Right, it would be happening right at landfall though, so it
Yeah,
would
it'll
not be
be.
long lived.
Yeah, it'll be right at landfall. We're talking like it'll be Emily levels of short lived.
But I mean, really, regardless, I mean, high end category 4, low end category 5, that really isn't much of a difference at all.
Yep.
50-mile-an-hour winds, that's basically, and then 160 can't really do much more than that. So
Yeah, you really can't do much more than total devastation. And that's the reason why there isn't a category 6 on the Saffir-Simpson scale, because you can't do much more damage than what you can do with category 5 winds. And, I really am going to be very concerned about seeing the after pictures of this storm. I think we're going to see a lot of leveled homes and a lot of people that are unfortunately in the way of this storm, thinking that it's only going to be a category 1 or category 2 because it intensified so rapidly.
Yeah, it's like once again, I don't believe anyone saw this coming, and if they do say that, then they're lying because
No, there's
it's
no way.
yeah,
yeah,
There's just no way.
just doesn't it was no way this could have been like solidly predictable unless you're like the NAM model.
even then.
Yeah.
Like, it's just absolutely insane what has happened. The proceedings have been very, very, very scary. And yeah, right now, Michael, only a few minutes from the strongest winds coming ashore. They are just offshore Florida right now. As you can see, I have a radar image currently up on the stream, and they're coming. So everyone needs to be very, very careful. If you're in the path of the storm, you need to be in an interior room now.
Yeah, right now. It's literally too late. You can't do anything if you're not even at a shelter right now. Even if
Do not go
if it's a
outside.
miracle, yeah, if it's a miracle if you still have connection to begin with. But
Yeah,
if
do
any of
not
you
go
guys,
outside.
yeah, just don't. Just stay inside. Stay in an interior room. Uh, get pillows, anything that could be cushions and things like that that could support you and keep you safe. Like anything that could stop from debris from hitting you and protect yourself and stay safe because this is the only way you could reasonably survive unless you're extremely lucky.
Oh, no,
Uh,
that can't be right.
what?
Okay, that's gotta be. I gotta be looking at the wrong drop. No, that is right.
Right.
922 millibars on the drop, 34 knot winds. So I think it's safe to say that this storm is at 920 millibars right now. The storm has strengthened to 920, which means that if it were to keep that pressure until landfall, which isn't going to be any more than maybe an hour or two from now, it will be tied for the third most intense landfall in United States history, tied with Hurricane Katrina of 2005 and Hurricane Maria of last year.
And it still could go lower.
So Hurricane Michael right now at the very, very least 920 millibars. Tell me if one of you guys are gonna have to tell me what the official data from the NHC is.
Yeah, I'll tell you
Take a
whenever it
while.
comes out.
Because I imagine they will be updating it based on this information.
Once again, if anyone has any questions, you can still message us at Force 13 all in text, and we'll
Dude,
try answering as soon as possible.
I'm looking through comments constantly, so again, don't hesitate to ask questions. This is the time for it, really.
yep, this is an extremely dangerous situation. Um, Again, we have all of our contact information here on the left, currently on the stream. Facebook, Twitter, Skype, Discord, and email listed. So if you don't feel like putting a comment down and having everyone see it, you can message us personally as well.
How many minutes before landfall? Probably about another 2 hours until the
Yeah,
center makes landfall, but the eye will be moving onshore within an hour more than likely.
yeah. The eye will be moving ashore rather shortly.
Yeah, and it seems as though the storm might make landfall more closer to Panama City than Apalachicola, and regardless, it's still going to be catastrophic effects from the storm itself, and
Yeah.
it's going to be really bad.
So somebody asked what the path is after landfall. So
Okay.
you can move
I'll
towards the northeast through the rest of Florida into Georgia, still bringing hurricane force winds, and then weakening somewhat as it moves into the Carolinas, but still bringing a lot of rainfall that they obviously do not need after Florence. Even tropical storm force winds, even though it's about a third of what we're seeing right now, they can still cause, power outages and wind damage and all that fun stuff. Doesn't have to be cause significant damage. So yeah, even in South Carolina and North Carolina, structures are already probably a bit weakened after Florence. And on top of that, would probably just enhance the recovery effort even more. So to move through the Carolinas and Georgia, up into Virginia, then eventually turning extra tropical off the coast, as you can see in the cone that Devin's relaying on screen, impacting Atlantic Canada by the weekend, and then out to sea from there. We'll see where it heads from there. How much rain will the hurricane drop? 10 inches in some areas, amounts up to a foot, but it's a little bit difficult to say exactly how much at this point. It won't be like Florence where it drops 3 feet of rain, because this thing is going to be moving at an accelerating pace. So you don't have to worry about the storm stalling and dumping a whole lot of rain like we dealt with in storms like Florence or Harvey. That's not going to be the issue here with Michael.
Correct. We do have a new person coming onto the stream now. Marcel, it is nice of you to join us.
Hurricane is very dangerous. It's a super rapidly intensifying hurricane. Can have very good chances of being Cat 5.
Yep.
Practically guarantee at least 155 miles per hour landfall.
That's pretty much what we're going at right now. National Hurricane Center, I believe, still has 150 miles an hour.
Yeah, they haven't updated it quite yet.
Okay, so I don't know if they're going to put a half-hour update out or if they're going to wait until 1 o'clock to update it. But as of right now, the minimum central pressure of the storm is likely less than 920 millibars.
So, Bobby Obrero said, "Do you have any estimates of what Michael's damage could cost? Any estimate will be fine." Well, there
No.
isn't, like, we can't really estimate exactly, but all we could say is that there's just going to be a devastating amount of damage caused by the storm. Can't give any numbers.
Can't give a number. Michael is a stage 7 on the cyclone destruction potential scale, so that would theoretically land it somewhere in between Dennis and Ivan, because Dennis was a stage lower, Ivan was a stage higher. So somewhere in between there, but also depends on how hard Panama City gets hit, how hard Apalachicola gets hit, because that's really what the damage totals are going to depend on, and also how much rain it ends up dumping in the Carolinas. Lots of factors.
We won't get solid damage estimates until we get into the winter, basically, for this.
Yep. I mean, we don't even have damage estimates for Florence yet.
Yeah.
See if Recon is.
No other questions. Stronger than Opal. Same wind speed. Pressure is slightly higher, but still, regardless, a very powerful hurricane.
Yeah, this is much stronger than Opal was at landfall. Opal was a minimum category 3 at landfall. This storm is much stronger than Opal.
Yeah.
Much stronger.
South Carolina coast have a storm surge like it did with Irma. Probably more than Irma, I would say. You could see.
Hard to tell.
Let's see. I'll go to the actual inundation
to the storm surge page.
Unfortunately, they don't have South Carolina within its viewing area.
Well,
Annoying.
so the best answer is we don't know.
Yeah, I would say possibly it depends on how close Michael is to the shore for one, but maximum 2, 3 feet possibly. I mean, if you're in an area that's known it's prone to flooding, then I mean, some sort of coastal flooding, but I wouldn't say it's anywhere near the caliber of what some areas in the Florida Panhandle could be seeing. I mean, 2, 3 feet, yeah, it can still cause some damage, obviously, but I mean, if you're in a low-lying area and it's prone to storm surge, prone to flooding, then be vigilant as to what might happen with Michael. Again, it's not going to be a huge storm surge issue, but it's still an issue. So,
Still an issue. Still, at least it'll be enough storm surge in some areas to completely overtake a one-story building. So keep that in mind. Anyways, I want to reiterate right now we have an extreme wind warning currently in effect for the Gulf County, Southern Bay County, and southwestern Franklin County. Winds of excess of 130 miles an hour are moving ashore now. Treat this situation as if you're in a tornado. You can see the extreme wind warning outlined on the radar here. It pretty much extends from Panama City to the north and west, down to Apalachicola to the south and east, and further east than that. If you're anywhere in this, go to an interior room, put a mattress over you or a similarly heavy or sturdy object, and just ride this storm out and hope that you don't have to continue to move up due to rising waters.
we have a really good question here from
Yep.
Renee Herring. He's asking what storm surge is and how it increases, if it increases the intensity of the hurricane. So, what storm surge is it's basically kind of, I wouldn't say wall, but just an area of water that's being pushed onshore by the intense winds of a hurricane. So, storm surge does not increase the intensity of a hurricane. Storm surge is dependent on the intensity of the hurricane. It's basically like just ocean water that's being pushed onshore by the extreme winds of the hurricane, and this can cause severe coastal flooding that can be very, very damaging. Storm surge is usually the biggest hurricanes. Michael, maybe not as much because it's a very small storm and the winds are much more intense with this, but still, storm surge levels of 13, 15 feet are nothing to sneeze at in the slightest. That can still lower story of your home and go up into the second story even. So is basically just treat it as a flood. Not a lot. I see a lot of people try to compare it to a tsunami way where it's just an instantaneous rise of water. It's very gradual, but still very devastating regardless. Answer your question.
Recon isn't updating for me again. But yeah, that is pretty much a very good way of describing what storm surge is.
Yeah,
Asking if Matthew, there I'm doing it again.
Yeah, we're all
If
doing it, man. We're all doing it.
If Michael 5, not at the moment, could it get there? Possibly, but it won't make much of a difference
Yeah,
at all.
it's really not going to make much of a difference here. Right now, Michael is currently producing winds of at least 150 miles per hour and has a minimum central pressure of at or below 920 millibars. We're going to have to wait for official reports from land once it comes ashore to see what the actual minimum pressure of this storm is going to be. I think it's a very good chance that it's going to be beneath 920 as it comes ashore, at least according to this recon data. Very, very scary data coming through. It looks like it's going to just miss Category 5, but again, really doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things. It's only 5 miles an hour, and both of either side of that 5 miles an hour means complete and utter devastation to basically anything these winds touch.
See, I'm trying to see if I can find ground reports of what's going on.
Yep, I've got nothing. Storm Prediction Center has absolutely nothing.
I am seeing. Okay, so I'm just seeing that there's flying debris in Tyndall Air Force Base in Florida, which would make sense. Just going through Twitter, but just a lot of intensity stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, coming through right now. We likely see more coming in very soon as the eye wall starts to move ashore.
So, E Constellation said, "How quickly did it intensify? It was not this strong this morning."
Yeah, exactly. Very quickly. It dropped, I think, something like 15 millibars in the span of a few hours. So if I remember correctly, I woke up this morning around 9 o'clock, and I think it was 9:35 at that time. And I think it was around 9:30. It was at 9 o'clock. It was 9:35, and the most recent drop, which happened at the top of the hour, pretty much, showed a pressure beneath 920 millibars. Um, that's a 15 millibar drop in the span of 3 hours.
How
And that
big Michael's eye is in diameter? I'd say about 15 miles.
15,
That's what I'm seeing on radar.
yeah, about that. That's about right.
Then the eye wall right now is getting very close to land. In fact,
It's
it's
over
it's pretty much
land.
getting on shore right now,
Yeah,
almost
it's coming on shore right now from what I'm seeing.
3 miles off the coast of the Tyndall Air Force Base, just to the southeast of Panama City.
Yeah, the
That's
eye
part of the eye
wall.
wall in the northwestern quadrant of it, so that will be moving through
Eye wall
the
should definitely be
southeast.
coming ashore right now.
Yeah, it
And then
looks
also
like
moving into Mexico Beach pretty soon.
the storm might actually make landfall just to the east of Panama City.
To be the case.
That's what it's looking like right now.
Like just to the east.
You're watching Force 13 live. If you're just joining us, we are currently doing coverage of Hurricane Michael, which is a potentially catastrophic borderline category 4 or 5 hurricane. Currently, as of the last NHC update, packing winds of 150 miles per hour, and with the latest recon, a pressure of no more than 920 millibars.
I am back.
And Marcel, is there anything else that you would like to add about what's going on right now with Hurricane Michael?
Remind to all the people, this is a very dangerous storm. Very dangerous. This is not a joke. This is
Yeah.
something that can be not
There's
something that
really
taken
not
not
any words
seriously.
that you can use to describe this storm. That's for certain.
Boring.
Yeah, to put it
Surprising.
bluntly, if with current circumstances, if you're not protected, you have a high chance of getting hurt, if not being killed in this situation.
Yeah, no, Orlando, I don't like saying stuff like that, but you really hit it right on the nose there. Like, we're not joking when we're saying that there's going to be winds that are equivalent to what you would see in an EF4 tornado currently coming ashore right now, just to the south and east of Panama City. So,
The,
if you're not in an interior room, hunkered down, uh, yeah, you are going to have massive, massive problems.
the worst part about this is the fact that, unlike an EF4 tornado that just lasts at most just
A few minutes. This is going to last
Yeah.
an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to deal with both sides of the hurricane.
Yeah, and the story, this most structures that were made before, like let's say, like when they had to upgrade the standards for infrastructure and housing and things like that. If housing was made before that, it's more than likely that they're not built to withstand this, even let alone housing that has been made recently. It's more than likely not going to be able to escape facing some sort of damage if that type of structure is within the excessive wind warning or extreme wind
Yep,
warning.
the extreme wind warning. And again, I'll pull it up right here on radar. Everything that is in that box is currently underneath the extreme wind warning. Um, I don't know if major hurricane force winds are currently occurring inside that entire box, but definitely major hurricane force winds moving ashore right now as the inner eye wall is starting to come ashore here. And that, there's really no words to describe this other than this is just completely unprecedented. This area of coastline has never seen a hurricane like this, at least since the 1850s. God knows if anything happened before then. We'd never know, anyways. But we have basically nothing before the 1850s, after the 1850s. The closest Category 4 impact to this region would have been Frederick back in 1979, and that made landfall in Alabama. So basically, this area of coastline has never seen Category 4 force winds before coming ashore, and here we have a storm that is likely beneath 920 millibars, the third most intense Atlantic hurricane to ever come ashore in United States history since 1851. And
Not
people are unprepared for the storm, unfortunately.
Yeah, it appears as though the storm might actually end up making landfall, maybe either over or close to the Tyndall Air Force Base.
Well, I guess that means we're going to get a good pressure estimate. If there's going to be one positive that comes out of it, we're going to get a pretty good pressure estimate if it goes right over the Air Force Base.
Are knocked down.
That Tyndall Air Force Base is literally just to the east of Panama City. It's not even like it's not very far at all. It's really close. So
No reports have come through in the Storm Prediction Center yet. That kind of surprises me. So we haven't seen any tornadoes, despite the tornado watch being out. And this is typically a pretty tornado-prone area when hurricanes come ashore, but clearly that is not going on. At least on satellite, it looks like the edge of the eye is coming ashore, which means that the strongest winds are starting to affect you guys right now. There's no question. The strongest winds are are coming ashore right now.
I'm also going to put this one other comment out there.
Yep.
Michael is very, very unusual in the fact that it makes landfall. Very few storms peak when they make landfall. The Gulf Coast, just in general, especially along this portion of coast, they almost always weaken up to landfall. I mean, Dennis weakened to a 3.
Dennis
Opal
weakened
weakened to a 3.
considerably. Opal weakened considerably. Even Frederick weakened a decent amount before making landfall.
Eloise weakened too.
Yep, Eloise weakened. That ended up going down to a Cat 3. Katrina weakened considerably. Rita weakened considerably. Like, basically every storm that you can think of weakened before
And
landfall.
Andrew
This
in
is,
Louisiana weekend.
yeah, Andrew
This
weakened a
one isn't.
considerable amount. I think that went from 145 down to 130.
Yeah. The only storms really of this caliber to continue to strengthen up to landfall were storms such as Charlie and Harvey, and those two storms weren't even along the North Gulf Coast. Those were along the coast near like Punta Gorda and the Texas Gulf Coast, respectively. So this portion of coastline it's very unusual to see a storm landfall being this strong at landfall and occurring during October. This is all usual.
Very weird. We are joined by Nathan.
I'm here somewhere, I think. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Yeah.
I'm not sure how my signal quality is.
you. You're coming through loud and clear.
Oh,
Yes.
good. Well, I just thought I'd arrive here for a few minutes. I'm away from HQ, so that's why Devon is very well doing the stream over the next few hours.
Yep.
It's unfortunate that I'm not able to be there to talk about the storm with you, but it is still a developing situation and still intensifying at this point.
Well, I'm waiting for Recon to refresh. That is not refreshing, unfortunately.
Okay, so I have unfortunate news.
Okay.
The eye, so far as I've seen, is actually going to more than likely now pass on the northern end of the Tyndall Air Force Base and then probably land over Panama City.
Well, there you
God.
have it. The center of the storm has taken a jog to the west. You can pretty clearly see it on radar.
Yeah, I'm looking at that at an image, and it does look as though, its movement, it will take it perilously close to Panama City. We were talking earlier, Devon, if it kept going at the same vein, it would land 21 miles southeast.
Yeah, well, it's looking a lot closer than
Floating up.
21 miles right now.
Yeah, it's 21 miles away from Panama City right now. And if we're going to extrapolate this out, we'll probably be about 12 miles away from Panama City.
They're not, and that
So
means
when are
that
we expecting the landfall?
not very long, actually, because it picked up a decent amount of forward speed. So probably,
Wow.
I would imagine landfall in the next hour.
Well, I won't be there for that then.
Yeah.
So I wish you the best of luck in tracking the storm and everyone else out there as well.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
It's just
The NHC information just updated. 919 millibars was the pressure. Winds have not changed.
There you go.
Wow.
919 millibars, the official pressure from the National Hurricane Center. If that holds until landfall, Hurricane Michael is going to be officially the third strongest U.S. landfall in recorded history.
In the month of October.
Did they all occur in the month of October? Camille didn't occur in the month of October.
This is going to be the most intense during October to make landfall.
Yeah, it's just a ridiculous month for it to happen in.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect an extremely strong storm in the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, you see very intense storms in the Caribbean at this time of year all the time, but in the Gulf of Mexico, not very common this time of year.
Wow,
The
that's
storm
just
is
amazing.
very common. It's not common for October. The Gulf of Mexico normally doesn't see storms like that in this period of year.
Nope.
Normally we see Category 5s in the Caribbean in October, but not in the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah,
Well,
the
Devon,
eye.
excellent job in the stream. I'm going to leave you to it whilst I am away from my studio. It's unfortunate that I am, but the show must go on, and unfortunate for all of those people on the ground as well, because it is going to be. I really hope they've taken it seriously, because if anything, this has been underhyped.
Yep. I completely agree with you on that, Nathan. Honestly.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you on that. And right now we have a situation where we have an area of land that has never seen a hurricane of this intensity. And unfortunately, that's the way it is.
Yeah, it's like the first parts of the eyes coming over Tyndall Air Force Base, and the outer portion of the eye is approaching Panama City as we speak.
Also, like to say that 919 millibars. That's one of the lowest pressures we've ever seen for a Category 4. Like,
Yes.
I wonder what.
I think Michael is now tied with Gloria for the second lowest pressure ever received in the Category 4, and one of the
And
lowest pressures for
I
a
believe
Category
that's
4 in the
third
Atlantic.
lowest because I believe Wilma was in the
Wilma was
890 as a
892.
4.
Wilma
Yeah,
was
and then
892 as a 4.
it was 916 as a 4. And I think, yeah, Gloria was like 919 as a 4, like Michael. To me about this is that the storm is so small and has a pressure this low. And
Do you think
that's
that it's possible that 150 is an underestimate?
Yeah,
be 155, dare I say it, 160 at this point.
I mean, it
We
really
need
doesn't
more
make a
recon to
difference.
confirm.
It really doesn't make a difference when we're talking about just how devastating the storm's going to be. But, I can't help but think, sub 920 millibars with a storm of this size. I mean, this storm isn't too much larger than Andrew. I mean, it is larger, but isn't too much larger than Andrew. And that was 165 miles an hour with a pressure of 922. I would
So
imagine this would be pretty close to that intensity with a similar pressure.
yeah, this is extremely bad, and
Does
keeps on like.
anybody have an update on AF 301?
I'll check on that right
they're
now.
currently in the outskirts of the storm, and this is 30 minutes ago. They just won't update at all.
Fantastic.
Well,
There was just an update literally moments ago. Okay, let me refresh this. They're going through the southeastern quadrant.
Okay.
We'll be getting a sampling of that. So
I'm
we'll be
not.
getting another path recon.
You're going to have. All right. I'm going to trust you to give us updates on recon. I'm just going to take a look at this for drop zones.
Okay.
Because it seems like I'm getting drop zones faster than you are.
yeah, because I honestly think that this Michael is stronger, but regardless, the conditions are bad as it is. It's just going to be more insult to injury, and you can't really get worse than catastrophic damage. There's already going to be buildings that are going to be leveled by this storm.
No
There's
doubt.
already more than likely going to be loss of life. It's because I honestly don't think that enough actually took it seriously.
And taking a look at radar right now as of 11:51 Central, so that's 8 minutes ago. Let me hit the refresh button and make sure that actually was 8 minutes ago because sometimes the radar lies. And that latest image is actually from 3 minutes ago. And it looks like the radius of maximum winds is definitely coming ashore, and downtown Panama City is definitely getting hit right now as we speak with the radius of maximum winds and it's going to miss the eye as well. So it's going to get a solid at least 1 hour straight of the maximum winds of this system. Maybe even more than that.
Yeah,
That is absolutely terrifying.
it's tragic.
So Josh Morgerman, who's located in Panama City, is recording pressures of about 966 millibars and quote falling like a rock.
Well,
Panama City, you're already seeing pressures in the 960s.
okay. Well, and again, the central pressure 919 according to the National Hurricane Center. I would be inclined to agree with 919. The winds, there has been no recon to support anything higher than 150, but it's very likely that there could be winds higher than 150 in this storm. I don't think that they will put it any higher than 150, honestly.
Yeah,
But
somebody asked what the ace of this hurricane season has been so far. About 110 now.
yeah,
Definitely about 110 now that Michael's really got intensity together.
115 by the time Michael dies.
So basically, we've had like a slightly above average hurricane season.
Oh, Michael just turned it. Well, Michael's going to turn this slightly above average season into probably one of the most destructive hurricane seasons we've ever seen. Because now we haven't had just one extreme U.S. impact, we've had two.
Yeah.
So we're going to be looking at what is likely going to be one of the worst Atlantic hurricane seasons on record, just based on these two landfalls.
And this coming directly after last year, which was the worst.
The worst, yeah.
No.
The worst. You know, it was the first hurricane season ever to have two storms to eclipse the 9 figures in damage, which is utterly insane considering only one storm has ever done that before last year, and we had two of them that did it. So, very scary situation. And now we have 2018 here. We've already had Florence do untold amounts of damage in North and South Carolina. And now we have Hurricane Michael here, borderline Category 4, Category 5, and the radius of maximum winds right now heading directly into Panama City.
Yeah, it's terrible seeing because there's tens of thousands of people that might there are being impacted by the storm right now. It's terrible seeing this happen. You can't really do much about it, especially for those who stayed, because unfortunately that was their choice. And right now that they're getting what they're getting, because it's if they didn't listen to local authorities, they thought it wasn't going to be that bad. Well, this is basically the worst case, just about the worst case scenario at the moment.
That's pretty much what we've got right now.
Through the comment section, see if we have any. Okay, when's the next NHC advisory? That will be in the next hour.
Yep.
At 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern.
They'll probably confirm landfall by then.
We'll see about that. That is not certain, that's for certain.
Question about Leslie's plant.
It's not certain. It should be.
Did the storm intensify at a crazy rate? Yes, it did.
Yeah, 15 millibars in 3 hours. Just this morning.
3 very rapid bouts of intensification that the storm's really gone under.
Yep.
lot about its intensity. I have not yet. Could it? Maybe. Um,
Huh, the negative 80 cloud tops are trying to come back now.
Aw, you're kidding.
I'm not.
Yeah, they are too. Wow. Look at the
I have no
latest
idea
imagery
how.
on Slider.
The next live imagery, good lord.
It doesn't want to stop.
Somebody asked how
Even when
Michael
it's making
got,
landfall, it doesn't want to stop.
Go ahead.
somebody asked how Michael got so strong so quickly as
Uh,
well. But it was
well,
over very, very warm ocean temperatures, very
yep.
high content, meaning that the deep into the ocean. Wind shear was very low. Dry air hasn't been an issue for the storm at all. It's just been in a very ripe environment for intensification. Now,
Yep.
I'm still trying to figure out how it got to 150.
Yeah, I think all of us are
I'm
trying to
still a little
figure that
working on
out right now, how it got to 150, because really it shouldn't have. And yet, here we are, we're talking about the strongest storm that we've seen make, potentially the strongest storm that we've seen make landfall in the United States in almost a half a century.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hitting a metropolitan area pretty hard as well right now.
Yeah, Panama City in the radius of maximum winds, which again, I will reiterate, extreme wind warning for Gulf County, Southern Bay County, and Southwestern Franklin County. Winds in excess of 130 miles per hour are moving ashore now. Extremely dangerous situations. Treat these extreme winds as if a tornado was approaching. Get into an interior room. Get a mattress or another sturdy object in front of you to protect yourself from flying debris, and hope that the water levels don't overtake your house.
Econ is moving through the southern eye wall right now. It should be in the eye relatively soon.
Awesome. Is this going to update for me? Of course not.
When will they ever listen to you?
No, no. Levi
Question,
must Levi must be asleep, unfortunately.
someone said, how does the western half of a hurricane zone differ in damage and effect from the east zone? Winds are pushing in different directions. Really, the eastern quadrant of a hurricane tends to be stronger with winds.
It's the opposite with this storm.
Yeah, it's generally
Weirdly.
it's more of it is pretty much more equalized throughout it, and as a result, there's going to be more widespread wind damage. The other thing about being on the east side of the storm is generally it's usually much more damaging because it's usually stronger, but you also have higher storm surge inundation levels, which and higher levels of tornadoes, which cause just exponentially higher amounts of damage. Western quadrant. And that's not to say the western quadrant you can't see significant damage there because you most certainly could.
Yep.
But it doesn't really matter where you are in the core of Michael. You're still going to see extreme winds, very heavy rainfall, flooding, 9 yards with the storm. The recon still has not updated quite yet.
Yeah, it's going to yeah, it should be updating any minute now. Yeah, Tidbits is not updating at all, so now I'm on Tropical Atlantic for recon. It should be noted that also right here on stream, what I'm showing right now is Cyclone Titley, currently a Category 2 hurricane that is also imminent in landfall. That's likely to make landfall in India very shortly, and that image is, I think, pretty grossly out of date by this point.
Yeah, the outer fringes of the eye is moving over southern Panama City, it seems.
Yep, I'm watching it. I've got the auto update here on the radar. I is now moving ashore, and it looks like, yeah, I think official landfall to be 1:30. You think 1:30, 1:45?
Yeah,
Eventually,
maybe.
it's getting close.
Most likely by 2 p.m. advisory, they'd probably say it's made landfall somewhere near Panama City.
Our eye wall's breaking through Panama City as well now. Tyndall Air Force Base is starting to get into the eye.
Yeah, that's what I was saying right now. Is that there's a red band that literally went right over downtown Panama City, right in the eye wall. So, man, I'm just hoping people are okay right now. I'm just hoping that people are okay in this storm right now. That went right over Panama City.
The thing is, there's a lot of hotels and stuff over there that like high rises, and they probably might face the brunt of the wind damage. You probably find uh, glass falling around there because the winds are so intense, and especially the gusts, let alone the height.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
all the windows are going to be blown out in those high rises.
yeah, this is really bad because Panama City is likely going to be facing a large chunk of the worst winds.
Miles offshore now, the center of it.
10
How many
miles?
miles?
Is that what you said,
Yeah.
Hank? 10 miles?
5 miles.
5 miles? Yeah, landfall will be happening at 1:30 at that case. I'm going to I even when the storm makes landfall, obviously, I'm going to at least stay live until Panama City is on the other side of this eye wall and the eye wall starts passing it, because this, even though the storm's made landfall, this is going to continue to be an extremely dangerous situation for the entire landfall area, Panama City, all through to Apalachicola. Currently experiencing at least hurricane force winds, if not major hurricane force winds, especially in the Panama City area.
Yeah. Recon will update. Hasn't done so for me yet.
Same here.
Okay, that's
Yeah, let's see. Uh, there's Apalachicola to where Panama City is. They said this. I'm looking at a power outage map, and it says the scale of it, 60% to nearly 100% of people are without power, and the total outages across the state are 128,848 customers are without power, and the last update was at 1:03 p.m.
Yeah, no kidding. 100% of near 100% of people out of power right now in the landfall area.
Yeah, this is devastating.
zoom in on imagery here. Won't let me go any further.
Yep. I can go a little bit further. There you go. Doesn't increase the resolution of the imagery, but it increases the resolution of the coastline. That's fantastic. So I
Yeah,
zoom in.
seems
So
like
I zoom in. The coastline becomes clear, and then the satellite imagery becomes blurry. That's brilliant. But anyways, you can see here on the slider imagery, Hurricane Michael coming ashore right now, uh, into Florida, into the Panama City area. Um, NHC currently says that Hurricane Michael, 150 miles per hour, 919 millibars. That if it were to hold 919 millibars until landfall, which it likely will, this would make Hurricane Michael the third most intense landfalling hurricane in U.S. history. The only two hurricanes that have been stronger at landfall really need no introduction. Hurricane Camille in 1969, which did unbelievable damage in Mississippi, and the Labor Day hurricane of 1935, which absolutely devastated the Florida Keys.
Yeah, this is pretty bad. You can't really get much worse than this at the moment.
No, you're absolutely right. It it really does not get much worse than this. A very powerful hurricane entering into an area of coastline that has not seen a hurricane anywhere near the ballpark of this intensity since 1851 at the very least. And people are likely unprepared for this storm, thinking that it would be something very similar to an opal. And very clearly, this storm is a lot stronger
Yes,
than opal.
has surpassed it.
Much stronger than opal.
It's making landfall at peak intensity and not very,
And
very,
we've talked about
very.
that as well. No storms in the Atlantic make landfall at peak intensity. Like, it is so rare for it to happen. So
especially
rare.
along the Gulf Coast.
Especially in the Gulf Coast, yeah.
And it usually only happens with these very, very tiny storms. And Michael is one of them.
We both did
For
it.
being,
They were both pretty
yeah,
small at landfall.
We,
Charlie
yeah,
was
for
tiny.
tiny deep pressure.
yeah, Charlie as well. And of course, Harvey, Celia, basically anything there that hit in Aransas County.
Or along the
Um,
coastal bend of Texas.
anything anything out of the comment section.
Just a bunch of talk about if it's a Cat 5 or not.
Yeah, well, it in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter much. Whether if they put it to a Cat 5 or not in postseason analysis, with the way that they've been doing postseason analysis lately, I think they probably will. Um, but time will have to tell on that. They're not going to put it up to Cat 5 operationally. They're going to keep it at 150. This recon is just not updating because I think the NHC hates us or something. I don't know. Are you getting anything?
Anything from Recon?
Recon.
Brush it really quick. Nope, not yet.
So that's a half hour out of date. So I don't know if that's like a data transmission issue or if they just flew into the center, found a pressure of like 915 and the 160-mile-an-hour flight ground level winds, and they're like, let's not. Like I said, it really doesn't make a difference in the grand scheme of things. 150,
Yeah.
160, yeah, total devastation regardless. Panama City is just getting absolutely hammered right now by the strongest part of this hurricane on the western side.
Yeah, it's
This
devastating.
is absolutely devastating. And like I said, I don't even think that downtown Panama City is even going to get the eye on this. They're going to get the northern part of the eye wall, and then they're going to get a very strong part of the western eye wall, and it's going to stay like that for a while, and then it's going to move to the southern eye wall. They're not even going to get the eye in this.
Yeah, this is terrible. The only thing that's probably going to happen is it's just going to calm down a bit, and then afterwards it's just going to
The
pick right back up.
Yep. The only redeeming quality, maybe, is that since it's moving on the western side of the hurricane, the flow of the winds is offshore. I think that's the only redeeming quality.
And then afterwards, it just once it crosses over land, it's just going to switch gears, because the rotation.
No, it's already going offshore and it's going to stay offshore
Oh, that's good.
because it's not passing to the west of Panama City, it's passing to the east.
Yeah, that's really good then. But unfortunately, the it's still surge is still being channeled around Apalachicola.
I interrupt you here, Orlando.
Yeah, we just got the recon coming through.
Let's see. Yeah, 920.2
No,
drop right there. That's old.
917.6.
19
917.6. It dropped another 2 millibars.
reading. Yeah. 17.6.
Flight level winds about the same that they've been picking up before. So, they got a flagged SFMR reading of 138 knots, and considering they got the flight level winds of 123 knots at the same time, that's definitely not going to stand. So yeah, they're definitely not gonna put this thing up to 5. That's for certain. It's gonna stay at 150. Gonna have to wait for the drop, but looks like they circled around in the eye for a little bit. And the lowest pressure that they found, at least extrapolated, 917.6. We'll see if a drop suggests anything lower than 919. By the time we get the drop, I think the storm will have made landfall anyways, and I think that's a second extreme wind warning has just been issued.
The last recon pass because the storm is making landfall imminently. Wait for the drop and we can just.
Yes, I would like to just say right now that the extreme wind warning has been extended. The extreme wind warning is now for southern Jackson County, Gulf County, all of Gulf County, all of Bay County, Calhoun County, Liberty County, and southeastern Washington County. National Weather Service Doppler radar at 12:13 Central indicated extreme winds in excess of 130 miles an hour associated with Hurricane Michael were continuing to move inland. This is an extremely dangerous and life-threatening situation. Take cover now. Treat it as if this is a tornado. You can see it right here on the radar image. The extreme wind warning now extends well inland, almost extending into Georgia.
Yeah, I was about to say that. It's really bad, and people that decide, you know what, how about we just go away from the beach and we be safe? No, the wind threat. The wind threat's not only going to be affecting the inland Florida Panhandle and the Big Bend area, but also it's going to be even going into Georgia. So basically, best case scenario was to evacuate completely out of the area. Not only that, but if you couldn't get to a shelter.
Yeah, like I said, get to the west of Pensacola. And if you're in Mobile, Alabama right now, it's a gorgeous day. It's a gorgeous day with a little breeze. Like, I'm not even kidding. If you're in Mobile, Alabama right now, you're getting a gorgeous day with a little breeze.
I'm actually going to check the Mobile, Alabama weather.
Yeah.
The eye is literally like a mile or two offshore now.
Yeah, they're going to call landfall at NHC should be calling landfall at 1:30. So just say when the NHC is going to call landfall, I think they're probably going to stick with 1:50, 9:19. I don't see them going deeper than that.
Yeah, so the Mobile, Alabama weather, 83 degrees with mostly cloudy with some breaks of sunshine. So
There you go. So might the pressure might be as low as 918, but I don't think so. We're gonna have to wait and see what the drop zone says.
unless the Air Force Base recorded something.
Yeah, unless the Air Force Base records something too, and you know they will. We'll see what the Air Force Base records. And they're not going to be all the way in the eye either. But very important to reiterate that the extreme wind warning now extends well inland into Florida, almost to the border with Alabama and Georgia. They're expecting major hurricane force winds with this storm to push well inland, almost to Interstate 10 right now. So basically, if you are to the east of Defuniak Springs and south of Interstate 10, and looks like still well off to the west of Tallahassee, but yeah, well off to the west, I would say that's Bainbridge in Georgia. If you're to the east of Defuniak Springs, to the west of Bainbridge, Georgia, and to the south of Interstate 10, you are pretty much in this extreme wind warning, and you need to be getting into an interior room with a sturdy object in front of you now.
See, I'm just trying to see if I can get drop data's coming in.
You got drop data?
Something just updated. Let me just make sure and see what it is. It's the plane progression, but they did find flight level winds of 150 knots.
There you go.
52 knots, actually.
152. That's enough to put it to 155. That's enough to put it to 155. I don't know if they'll put it to 160, but that is easily enough to put it to 155. 152 knot flight level winds. That is utterly insane. NHC call for landfall yet?
Refresh. Seeing the center of the eye is onshore.
They're saying center of the eye is onshore.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
One station and one station that recently has gone down on.
What do you think, Marcel?
Very life-threatening storm. Very dangerous storm. Please remain indoors.
Yep, that's pretty much what we're saying. Oh, man. All of the SFMR readings that are borderline to Category 5 are all flagged. So they're probably not going to put it up. Then again, they have used flag readings before to confirm a Cat 5.
Okay, for some reason my satellite just rebooted for no reason.
Yeah, it's really odd. Uh, I just don't understand why they didn't raise it to 155.
Yeah, well, there's definitely
Sure.
enough evidence for it now. Um, see if Raycon is refreshing over here. Yes, it finally is. Do they have a drop? 1559, and that was the 922. So, an extremely dangerous situation right now with Hurricane Michael continuing to unfold as it is now making landfall in Florida as the strongest storm to have made landfall in the U.S. in over 49 years. And it is the first storm ever to make landfall even at category 4 intensity in this region. This area has never seen a storm anywhere close to this intensity. And right now, Panama City is right in the bullseye for the radius of maximum winds of this storm. Like they are literally right in the bullseye of it.
You know, something that I don't understand is that they they flagged it even though it doesn't look like the precipitation would be like the key player in why.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. Um, I'm taking a look at this recon data, and there's a lot of messy data here. So you just never know.
Sucks that things like this
It's not
happen.
it's not me
Moments.
making the decision on whether if it's a flagged reading or not. Usually I think a reading should be flagged if the ground level winds are higher than the flight level winds. But I don't see any reason why the SFMR should be flagged for the 135 knot reading with the 155 knot flight level winds.
And really quickly here, the Tyndall Air Force Base recorded pressures of 923 millibars.
923. And the storm's not even fully ashore yet.
And it's on the outer edge of the eye, too.
Yeah, so that's going to drop down to 917 probably.
Yeah.
So so it looks like we are calling for a landfall Tyndall Air Force Base in Florida.
At the very least, if they don't put it up to Category 5, I think they would put it up to 155. I'd be a little.
I don't think they're going to do it operationally. Postseason analysis probably. I don't think they're going to do it operationally. Nothing out of the NHC yet.
Fresh? Not yet.
Okay. How about comments?
Uh, just more talk about if it's a Cat 5 or not.
Yeah, that's probably the most poignant discussion right now. Again, I like to reiterate that what you're taking a look at right now on the radar loop, these warnings that you see popping up, the boxes, they're not tornado warnings, they're not severe thunderstorm warnings. These are extreme wind warnings that are popping up on the radar right now. And you can see just how far inland these extreme wind warnings extend. And I'll stop it right here to show you guys. Look how far inland this goes. This goes all the way up to Interstate 10 and almost to the Florida Georgia border here. And they basically expect, the National Weather Service basically expects everywhere in here to receive at least Category 3 force winds within the next few hours. So if you're anywhere in this box, even if you've evacuated inland, if you're anywhere in this box, you need to seek shelter immediately if you're still watching.
Not only that, but it seems like even with the eye crossing over land, it still looks good, and the cloud tops are still expanding.
Crazy.
Catastrophic damage is expected, nonetheless. Whatever it's, if
Yup.
if the NHC leaves it at 150, or they bring it up to 155, or do whatever with it, that you can't get much worse than this.
Really can't. Can't get much worse damage than.
Yeah, you can't get worse damage than complete damage. That's for certain. Drop zone. Nothing's come through there. I'll see if anything's come through on the other site. I'm gonna guess no.
It of the front of the people that are in the
No drop zones yet. Man, I'm surprised that the NHC hasn't called landfall yet.
Michael! Oh my god, this shit's it!
What's going on there? Somebody had background noise.
Some sort of uh, storm footage or something.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Now you said now Hank, you said that Josh Morgerman is in Panama City right now. Is there any more updates from him?
Not at the current moment. He usually updates pretty frequently on Twitter, but I'm not seeing anything at the moment.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I wouldn't want to update in Twitter right now either. He's probably bearing down for his life right now.
Because if the water doesn't get you, the wind will.
Yeah, this is pretty at least wind wise for the wind.
They called landfall 100. They called landfall 155 mile an hour winds, pressure of 919 millibars.
There you
landfall
go.
near Mexico Beach in Florida.
Landfall 155 919.
Here we go.
Okay.
So landfall has been called official. I at least plan on staying live for a little bit, at least until Panama City is out of the way of the radius of maximum winds of this system, because this is currently an extremely dangerous situation going on for Florida. I don't know if Nathan will want to be live after he comes back to continue with the inland impacts. But I at least plan on staying live until this situation at least starts to calm down a little bit.
Yeah, because it appears as though that right now the storm intensity is literally 1 mile per hour off from Category 5 status.
We'll see what they do in postseason analysis. It wouldn't be surprised if they bump it up, but it does not surprise me that they haven't gone with Cat 5 operationally.
Anyways, y'all are witnessing one of the most extreme landfall events that has ever occurred in the U.S. The strongest storm to hit this portion of Florida, no question about that. The the worst hurricane to ever impact this portion of coastline. Again, no doubt about that.
Yeah, and it's the strongest hurricane to impact the United States in almost 50 years.
Hurricane to ever hit the U.S. in October, bar none.
Yep. Worst hurricane to ever hit the U.S. in October. The Labor Day hurricane and Camille, I think, were both September systems. Camille actually might have been August.
Camille was in August.
Yeah, so there you go. Camille was August. Labor Day, obviously, that's in September. So, and now we've got this is basically this. I mean, I don't really like using this language, but this pretty much is this generation's Camille. Just straight up, this is this generation's Camille because even if it doesn't reach Category 5, even if it doesn't get upgraded to Category 5, Panama City is going to get destroyed. No doubt. Like, Panama City is getting destroyed right now. Areas inland are also going to get pretty well destroyed. We're going to see, my apologies, we're going to see 15 feet of storm surge plus from this. The comparisons are definitely there. This storm kept its peak intensity all the way to landfall. Just unbelievable what this storm's been able to do.
Panama City is literally in the bulk.
Yeah. Like, Panama City is literally getting the worst of the storm right now. There's not even a single question of it. They are getting the worst of the city right now.
Yeah, a lot of parts of Panama City, if not the whole city in general, is going to be absolutely devastated. It's terrible. Like, I couldn't see this from like just a few days ago. No one could have seen it from a few days ago. No one, like, it was. No one thought this would get this bad.
And nobody should have, honestly. There was nothing really saying that it was going to get this bad. But it did. And unfortunately, that's what we have to deal with right now. Yeah, it got this bad. Absolutely insane. Taking a look at some surface readings, it looks like we have one surface reading at 961.9 millibars. We've got the Tidal Air Force Base, which currently has 923 millibars, and has that gone any lower?
Well, let me see if the drop has come in, which I don't believe it has. No updates from Tyndall Air Force Base that I can see. It's holding steady, but
wouldn't be surprising. It would not be surprising to me if the equipment just straight up got damaged.
oh,
Like, no joke.
It seems as though that beach is probably going to be the worst hit area, unfortunately. While Panama City is really bad, but I think Panama City Beach probably got the worst.
Potentially. We'll have to see once the storm gets all the way through, but obviously very extreme winds. Near Category 5 force winds are currently on the ground. And it is a rather scary scenario.
I'm seeing if I can slice some things through just medium at all. Not yet. Nothing coming through. Recon has yet to release the drop data. Actually, 1 second. Let me just refresh the page just to confirm. Up. I'm seeing reports of a whole row of buildings being heavily damaged
Heavily
in
damaged.
Mexico Beach. The roof of a condominium blown off.
Now, one thing I would like to say right now, really quick, is you should not go out during the eye of this storm to assess the damage.
No. Stay indoors. Stay
Yes,
where
stay
shelter.
indoors, even during the eye of the storm, even though the winds have calmed down. Stay indoors.
I still not seeing anything. Just the report of those in Mexico Beach and the roof of that condominium blown off. And just wind reports and stuff like that. Wind gusts of 104 miles an hour at Hathaway Bridge. Wherever that is. Yes, stuff like that.
No tornado reports so far. I haven't even seen tornado warnings, but then again, I haven't really checked. I haven't seen any. It would have came up on the radar, and I haven't seen any tornado warnings on radar. So there you go.
Either.
But right now, the bottom line is extreme winds are currently ashore in downtown Panama City, and likely it'll be at least until 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock Central, before this storm gets before at least you guys get beneath hurricane force winds. It's going to be a very long time, a very long day for people in Panama City. The extreme wind warning does extend well inland, extending northward to Interstate 10. And it wouldn't surprise me if that gets continued to extend northward, potentially into Georgia and Alabama. So be prepared for major hurricane force winds as this storm continues to move inland. The main point right now is if you are to the north and east of Panama City, right now you should be taking shelter before the absolute worst of the storm comes. Get yourself into an interior room, get a mattress, a table, or something else, a very sturdy, heavy object to protect yourself from flying debris, and just really hope that you end up okay, because these winds can absolutely tear an entire house apart. There's no doubt about that.
Reports from Florida State University campus in Panama City reporting 105 mile an hour sustained winds right now. And that's closer towards Panama City Beach as well. Outer fringes of the eye wall proper is likely seeing winds 130, at least.
Yeah, at least 130. Basically, anything that is in the yellows on the radar, around, at least in the very immediate region around the eye, they're getting at least 130-mile-an-hour winds right now.
We'll just see how the wind damage is. I mean, that could also potentially.
The wind damage is
strong
going to
winds.
be massive from the storm. Absolutely massive.
That'll give us an idea of how strong the storm might have been at landfall
Yep.
as well. Unlike in a tornado, that's how they survey how strong the winds were usually.
And that'll be part of the postseason analysis too, is see how bad the damage is.
Michael essentially is like a tornado that lasts for hours. That's
Yeah.
essentially what it is. Oh, wind, absolutely no joke. And Recon has yet to deliver the drop data.
Of course. Well, they might have not even done a drop because it was so close to land.
You might be right. Pressure observations. Nothing yet. How intense this thing is. I still have it. Still hasn't hit me.
I know. It really takes a while to sink in when you realize, holy crap, a storm of this intensity, it's going to bring in, 15 feet of storm surge. It's going to bring in a tornado like wind ashore. This is basically this is literally a 40-mile wide F3, F4 tornado currently moving ashore at like 10 miles an hour. I mean, that's really the best way to put it.
Reports from the Weather Channel that Jim Cantori almost got hit by debris.
Well, that's not surprising. I don't know where Jim Cantori is currently stationed. I don't know if it's in.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to screen share this.
Okay, I can try to bring it up.
Okay,
I
there's.
have not attempted this before, so
Okay.
please just hold on. I'm gonna try to do my best to show this.
Okay. Hopefully, this quality
here's
isn't
what
too
I'm gonna
bad.
do. I'm gonna go to a full, and someone's gonna have to. Okay, there's a full capture. All right, go ahead.
Okay, this was just recorded during Michael. You could see that entire structure right there just fell down right there.
Wow.
And I'll replay that really quickly.
Yeah, please do.
If you didn't see it. See, right there.
Yeah. That takes an unbelievable amount of force to break a structure with that sort of intensity.
Let's see. And Morgan also is reporting 947 millibars in Callaway. Not exactly sure where that is. Let me check the map. See. Okay, so he's in the very western edge of the eye.
Okay.
At the moment. I'll post that link in the chat. Yeah,
Yeah, that is absolutely insane, honestly.
yeah. I need to post this.
Yeah, go ahead. That just shows the power of 155 mile per hour sustained winds, and potential definitely category 5 gusts are occurring in this storm, and it's going to be interesting to see what they analyze the damage to be.
It also says one of the scariest, nastiest, explicit canes I've ever been in. So, saying a lot from someone who's been in literally some of the strongest storms that have occurred on the planet in the past several years.
Yeah. No, this is easily. I mean, there have been a lot of storms that have been affecting that have affected the Philippines. We've had Cyclone Winston. Um,
Gee,
yeah. Trying to think of one of the ones that affect. There have been numerous typhoons that have hit Taiwan at a very strong intensity. Um, and now the Atlantic has its very strong. Well, the mainland United States now has its very strong hurricane landfall.
see if I can try to find some more reports here. Yeah, just houses completely falling apart, roofs peeling off of beach resorts, stuff of that caliber. It's just
There's really no words, and we've said this time and time again on this stream. There's really no words to put to just how unbelievable, how unprecedented this storm has been. It looks like downtown Panama City is right on the edge, the western edge of the eye right now. So this thing continues to move inland to the north and east at around 10 miles an hour. It is likely that it will begin to weaken soon. It's got to eventually start to weaken, and it does look like that the eastern side is starting to fall apart just a little bit. So we'll see how long it's able to keep its intensity. I plan on staying live at least until 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern, and then I will be ending this stream. So we'll be live for one more hour. As I think it will probably be about one more hour before conditions at least begin to start calming down in the Panama City area.
I'm just still.
Everyone here, we're looking for drops, we're looking for ground reports, we're looking for data, we're looking for pretty much anything that we can to fill you guys in with the latest information for what is going on with potentially catastrophic Hurricane Michael, stage 7 on the cyclone destruction potential scale, category 4 on the Saffir Simpson hurricane wind scale, the third most intense U.S. landfalling hurricane since the beginning of the Atlantic hurricane, at least the accurate Atlantic hurricane database in 1851, and the strongest U.S. landfall to ever occur in the month of October, and the strongest U.S. landfall to occur in over 49 years.
and by far the strongest to hit this portion of coastline.
And by far the strongest. Yeah, there's just so many records that this thing has just broke by rapidly intensifying right before landfall. It had 3 bouts of rapid intensification. It rapidly intensified into a hurricane, then hit Cuba, stalled out for a little bit. Then it rapidly intensified into a Cat 3, kind of stalled out for a little bit, got up to a Cat 4, rather slowly but surely, and then overnight, bang, rapid intensification one more time right before landfall, and this thing became a borderline Category 5. This thing very likely could have become the 4th landfall in mainland U.S. history to be of Category 5 intensity, joining the Labor Day hurricane of 1935, Camille of 1969, and Andrew of 1992. But that is to be confirmed in April, to say the least. We'll see what they do with that, but it is possible that that has happened.
Just more reports of roof damage, and
There's going to be plenty of reports of wind damage, no doubt. I just wish more would come through. Anything coming through with the viewers?
let me check really quick.
Probably mainly still Cat 5 discussion.
But there's just not really any questions. They're just having
Alrighty.
conversation down there.
Alrighty. As long as they're situated at the very least. Yeah, right now, pretty much what we're doing is we are currently trying to find the latest data that we can get to you. Any sort of wind reports, any damage reports. How about Tidell Air Force Base? Anything from there?
Quick, now, so pressures are beginning to rise. They bottomed out, 2.6 millibars is where it bottomed out at.
Alrighty. So that's an indication that the storm is now moving away. That's not necessarily that this an indication that the storm is weakening.
And I just closed out Twitter. Nice job.
But yeah,
Okay,
right.
so
Orlando, go ahead.
I got some interesting news.
Alrighty.
My has property as well. She has a condominium down in Panama City, okay?
Okay.
And to check on her property.
Okay.
Last thing we heard from her was that water was up to her deck.
Water was up to her deck.
Nothing
And-
new. I'm assuming she stood over there. So that was probably the most dumbest decision anyone could ever make.
Yeah, that is. And I've got a family member as well that is currently in Panama City. From what I understand, they thought that it was only going to be, and I hate using that only thing, but they said that it was going to be Category 1, and they went through Hermine and figured that they could get through this storm too. And clearly, this is in a whole nother universe in comparison to Hermine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Family. I'm assuming recon is still.
No, Recon's done. It's made
Heading back
landfall. Recon is
their
done.
back
We
base.
don't have a drop. It's done.
I'd love
I
an
do have-
explanation how the storm is still putting negative 80 cloud tops and continuing to maintain its eye.
Well,
Get
it
a
looks like it's deteriorating on radar imagery.
yeah.
I guess it takes time for satellite to catch up then.
We did see a drop. Pressure was still 922, and report what the winds were associated with it. So that's helpful.
Huh.
Okay, so 922 or lower, basically. 19, like what the NHC said.
Yeah, 919. So I think it's pretty. I think we've nailed the pressure pretty well down. That it's 918, 919, 920, somewhere in that region. The question is, what are the exact winds, and whether if they're 150, 155, or 160, it quite frankly doesn't matter much. I mean, it'll matter in the record books, but other than the record books, it really isn't going to matter. I don't know if this is a shielding thing going on, but it looks like that the eastern side of the eye wall on the radar is starting to open up. I don't know if you see the same thing or not, Hank. You are?
And Tyndall Air Force Base just went offline.
Yeah, that's not surprising. They probably just got. I bet they just started to get smacked with that southern eye wall, and then there goes your comms. This is once this storm ends up clearing Panama City, I think we're going to see some devastation that we haven't seen in the mainland United States probably since at least Charlie of 2004. If not potentially devastation that we've seen even worse than Hurricane Charlie. This is just a unbelievably dangerous situation, and this storm continues to move inland and is expected to bring major hurricane force winds all the way up to the Interstate 10 corridor in Florida. In fact, there is an extreme wind warning for the following areas: southern Jackson County, Gulf County, Bay County, Calhoun County, Liberty County, and southeastern Washington County, as extreme winds in excess of 130 miles an hour are moving inland. Obviously, get into an interior part of your house. Protect yourself with some kind of heavy furniture, mattress, a table, anything that you can find, and just hope that you don't get hit by the flying debris that's going on out there. Obviously, debris is going to be flying. They're basically going to be flying like child's toys out there in these kinds of winds. I mean, a 2x4 is absolutely nothing to a 155-mile-an-hour hurricane. They'll just fly with ease.
Go through the comments really quickly, see if we have anything. Someone said, "What's the storm surge height in Panama City?" uh, Probably not that high. Again, it's mostly the wind. Is the wind that's being the main source of damage right now. Not really thinking that there's a whole lot of storm surge within that bay. There could be back bay flooding, but I don't think that's right now. If anything,
There are
it might not
flood
be.
warnings in the area, and I haven't even discussed those, but it's not like I really had a time to do that either. Obviously, you do not want to be caught in a situation where there's a flood warning and an extreme wind warning. It's terrible.
Let's see. Other questions that I can cite at the moment. How Jim Cantori almost got impaled by a 2x4.
That's not surprising in a storm of this intensity.
Interesting question. Would you say the relatively fast movement speed will mitigate some damage?
There's a hope that that will happen. There's a hope that that will happen. That's all I can really say about that. Fingers crossed that it does, but how much will it mitigate damage in the grand scheme of things? Not much.
Fortunately, I mean, 155-mile-an-hour winds or 155-mile-an-hour winds are going to do damage regardless how long it lasts.
Yep.
New drop is probably that's not before though. So, yeah, it's starting to talk about Lubon a little bit. I mean, there's one of the worst hurricanes ever hit the U.S. hitting right now. So,
Oh, absolutely. Well, it
I
is.
think
It is.
right to stay.
There's no question that this is one of the worst hurricanes to have ever hit the United States. No exaggeration, no yellow journalism, no lying, no sugarcoating the truth, no fake news. This is the worst hurricane to have ever impacted this area of the Gulf Coast ever. Period.
And so, yeah, I'm just seeing tables from Klotzbach just putting out just landfall data. Yeah, third strongest in U.S. history by pressure, fourth strongest by wind speed because Andrew had
Yeah, Andrew.
also a higher pressure.
But should have been. No, there must have been another 155-mile-an-hour landfall somewhere. Oh, yeah. Maria.
Yeah, this is ranked by continental U.S., so
Oh,
it's
ranked by
Maria is not
continent. So,
included.
what 155-mile-an-hour storm made landfall in the U.S.?
Just Michael.
Okay. There you go.
There's two 130s, the Indianola storm and the Florida Keys hurricane in 1886 and 1919, respectively.
Yeah.
Okeechobee hurricane, the Miami hurricane, Donna,
Donna was
Irma wouldn't be too
155?
far. Just storms that are on the list. Donna was 125 knots, so 145. Miami was also 145. The Okeechobee storm was 145.
And again, there's always the chance of this storm being upgraded. I don't think it will. It's going to take some really conclusive damage. Looking at the damage, I don't think that there was conclusive evidence from Recon for the upgrade to 160. I think there was honestly barely enough for the 155. I was actually a little surprised that they went with the 155 operationally. But it's going to really take some. It's really going to take some vigorous damage surveying in order to upgrade this storm postseason analysis. I just don't see it happening, but it could. But that 919 millibars, that's likely to stay. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. 919, third lowest pressure to have ever made landfall in the United States. Not a joke. That's for certain.
So yeah, so strongest storm to make landfall in this decade. Yeah, strongest in years.
Strongest to have
Okay.
made landfall for almost 5 decades.
By winds, it's the strongest in 26 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like we said, no sugarcoating this. This is
This is
insane.
unprecedented. Absolutely unprecedented. Wind speeds.
Using words to say because it's just that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's getting really repetitive at this point as we're just waiting for wind reports and damage reports to pour in, and they only come as fast as they possibly can while you're in the middle of a 155-mile-an-hour hurricane. The good news is that the eastern side of the core of this storm seems to be dismantling, so rapid weakening should be beginning to take effect here as Michael moves inland. However, I will say that its satellite appearance has not deteriorated one bit. And speaking of satellite, I'd actually like very quickly to take a small detour over to the Indian Ocean, as they have also a very strong storm going to impact them very shortly, as we have Cyclone Titley, a Category 2, moving ashore very soon into India. That imagery is at least an hour out of date, so Titley also very close to making landfall.
Those two storms. And Leslie and Nadine also in the Atlantic. Leslie
Yep.
may be around. So Nadine
Les-
will be a non-issue.
Leslie's actually looking very impressive on satellite. That continues to get more organized.
Sergio should hit the Baja California this weekend as and should bring remnant moisture into the southwest U.S. Any extra rainfall that's been falling over this portion of the country recently from both Rosa and another storm that just moved through. And then just scattered invests that aren't worth talking about.
Yeah, pretty much. There is the cone for Sergio. There's the cone for Leslie. There's the cone for Michael. And of course, we also have the cone for Luban as well, as that's likely to weaken very significantly as it approaches landfall in Yemen.
Which in Yemen is a place that is very, very dry. I mean, it's the middle of the desert essentially.
Yeah, that entire Arabian Peninsula is, so
yeah,
that's
and
not likely to hold together.
Any rainfall that falls in the Arabian Peninsula is, off immediately. I mean, this storm could drop almost a year's worth of rain in the area, which will cause huge flooding in the area. Even though rainfall totals might not sound like a whole lot to some of us for there, it's a bunch. And
it's like during the monsoon season, and you hear that, oh, Phoenix, Arizona got 2.5 inches of rain. Shh. Yeah, that's flash flooding for Phoenix. It's the same thing.
Still trying to find some more reports on Michael. Nothing yet.
I gotta say, Hank, even though the radar appearance is kind of going away, the satellite appearance is not.
Look at it. For some reason, my source rebooted. So let me just go back to the slider imagery that I think is already on the screen. Yeah. I mean, satellite still maintaining itself.
Yeah. I mean, it's not getting any stronger, but it's definitely showing maintaining right now.
This will eventually change. Trust me. It's
Yeah,
not going to.
this is not going to stay like this for long. Once this thing gets north of Interstate 10, it will start falling off of a cliff.
Any questions in the comments? Be worse than Camille.
No. Camille landfall winds were 175 miles an hour. This storm's landfall winds 155 miles an hour. So, no, by default.
I think he means like in terms of just like overall damage.
No. It'll be a couple shades beneath Camille. It'll be comparable, but Camille will be noticeably worse.
All right. Okay, just from the governor, that's just kind of relaying information. Windsfield expand like Florence did when it started to disorganize.
Doubtful.
Naturally, when it moves inland, it is going to lose wind speed, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the wind field will increase as well because
Yeah.
with a storm like,
It's
with a storm like
it's
Florence weakening over water, this is going to be weakening over land, so winds
big
won't be able
difference
to. So yeah, wind damage to Academy.
All right, I got to step away from the stream for a few minutes, so just man it real quick for me, please.
I'm gonna try finding out so far the power outages, how many customers are without power.
Okay, yeah. Damage to hotels. There's a Holiday Inn that got badly damaged. A roof torn off of a Hampton Inn in Panama City. Whole side of a wall fell off. Church. See here. And then just more stuff about roof damage.
Oh, 185,629 customers are without power in the state of Florida.
That sounds about right.
Ranges range from, well, for areas that are impacted by the eye and the eye wall, strongest amounts of winds like around city. There's just about near 100% without power. Apalachicola, same thing, and all around the Big Bend area, there's at least 30% of power outage reports from across that region that has been impacted by Michael.
So yeah, just a lot of reports of trees snapping. And then yeah, just power outages like you just relayed.
The trees don't even need to be like uprooted. Like in general, the winds are so strong that the trees will snap away from the base.
Will just snap like a twig and winds this strong. There's a bunch of like more native trees down there that are pretty thin, so it wouldn't take too much just to snap those things and send them flying. I don't remember what those trees are, but I can just tell you that those things projectiles pretty quickly.
Any news of Cantori dodging a 2x4?
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about that. Tells you that how strong these winds are versus 155-mile-an-hour hurricane competition. I mean, that 2x4 has just become a hundreds of miles an hour, and
Like, yeah, if that hit Cantori, that would have been the end of him and his career.
could have been the end of his life if he was in the middle of that.
Could have been the end of him.
It's like my dog's about to start barking. I'll be right back. Once.
Yep. All right, I am back now.
I see anything you'll find on Twitter.
Yep. I mean, we're at the point right now where we're kind of just waiting to get new information. Really waiting also for this storm to clear Panama City. Hopefully, it will be clear or at least start to clear up a little bit. At least the very worst of the storm will start to clear up a little bit in about a half of an hour. That's what it's looking like, anyways, for Panama City.
So, yeah, just more reports of just wind damage. A lot of hotels. It's mostly been wall of a Hampton Inn in Panama City that was like
That building's probably going to be totaled.
Wind damage to roofs, snapped, falling on cars.
And of course, we had the that clip of the roof collapsing,
Yeah.
the building collapsing there. So
there's a storm surge arriving in on the backside of Michael in Panama City right now. Panama City Beach, to be specific.
we're joined again by Nathan Foy. Hello.
Yeah, good evening. So the storm made landfall not so long ago, I hear.
Yes, the storm made landfall about an hour ago. I was planning on staying alive at least to the end of this hour, at least until the absolute worst of the storm clears downtown Panama City.
It's a remarkable situation. Well, the way it's going, what time are we currently on right now?
2:30 Eastern, 1:30 Central.
Wow. Well, I could make my studio available again in maybe a little over half an hour, 45 minutes at least.
All right. Well, I'm going to be going offline in a half an hour.
Ooh, we might not make it there. In any case, wow, this storm though.
Yeah, this storm we've been struggling to find the words for this storm for the past 2.5 hours while we've been live.
Where exactly was the landfall zone?
Mexico Beach.
Mexico Beach. That's what we were talking about what was it, 4 or 5 hours ago? It was making a beeline for that area. Well, there we go.
Yep.
Make a little bit of a shift towards Panama City at the last minute.
I'm gonna send an image of some damage that I just saw on Twitter.
Alrighty.
If anyone's seen this, so
I'll see if I can pull it up. Shouldn't be difficult.
And of course, it's not just for this landfall zone that we're talking about. It's beyond inland, way inland.
Yep.
And then along the coast of the Carolinas, tropical storm force winds there.
I've been talking that first off on the stream now is a picture of some of the rather incredible damage currently going on being produced by Hurricane Michael. You can just see 2x4s laying absolutely everywhere.
God.
It's going to be, in your words, unfathomable.
Yeah. Honestly, it looks like a lumber yard.
Yep.
It looks like a lumber yard. But I've been noting in here that the extreme wind warning extends all the way up to the Interstate 10 corridor and anywhere within it, which again, it's for southern Jackson County, Gulf County, Bay County, Calhoun County, Liberty County, and southeastern Washington County. Anywhere in that corridor can receive major hurricane force conditions from Hurricane
That's a lot
Michael.
of real estate.
The storm knocked off this house under construction at the shore.
It looks like that the eye wall is starting to clear Panama City at the very least.
Is there any indication that the storm surge is being what it was billed to be, up to 14 feet?
I'm
not seeing any reports from Apalachicola. It's been pretty.
Yeah, honestly.
Anything from there.
So you may argue that perhaps we're still yet to see the worst by some distance.
At
in
least
terms of
surge-wise,
reports
that's
coming through.
potential.
There's also footage of a bunch of debris floating in the water in the Mexico Beach area.
Yeah. You could just see how many of these wooden 2x4s are just laying everywhere. These beach homes are just.
I have it up right now, and you can just see how much debris is currently around. And you can just see how severe the winds were at Mexico Beach. Again, Mexico Beach was where the storm made landfall with maximum estimated sustained winds of 155 miles per hour. In a minimum.
You think that was the right number that they went with?
Yes. I am full on confident that 155 was the right operational number.
Yeah.
There was not enough data from Recon to fully suggest a Category 5. I honestly didn't think that there was
So is that you
enough.
saying that maybe it could have been possible?
We'll have to see from the damage. That's how the storm will end up getting upgraded. Will be based on what damage is caused. But
it's another one of these situations that seem to be too large in number these days, at least in recent years. The amount of times we're left dumbstruck by these systems.
Yeah.
But this one is probably the biggest shock of them all in the last few years.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Harvey's landfall intensity was a huge shock to me anyways. I don't know how much of it was a shock to you guys, but Harvey's landfall intensity was a huge shock to me, and that barely got to Category 4. This one either got to or approached very closely to getting Category 5. So, there you go.
Well,
I'm seeing
a situation that we continue to monitor.
Another storm that I remember intensifying very rapidly was over in the Philippines. It was Typhoon Milor back in 2015, where it actually intensified going in between the islands. I remember that very well. That was a big shocker as well.
Certainly. Well, I wish you well for the rest of the stream. I must depart again because I'm actually low on battery over here, around 6 miles from HQ, and I'll be back with whatever is needed in about an hour's time.
Alrighty.
Yeah, the effects of this storm is absolutely terrible, and There's probably going to be a low amount of people injured or killed, but it doesn't seem as though unscathed. The damages are. It's already alone that the damages are likely to be catastrophic, but then you have the potential for lives to be lost, and I'm not sure if there has been any reports of
Yep.
it. It's pretty likely that someone probably got killed in this.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's had to have been at least a few people. Um, Damages, as already shown, are absolutely incredible, and we're only scratching the surface as to what the damage could possibly be right now from this storm.
I will say that water levels in Panama City are at major flood stage because of now storm surge inundation coming in from the backside. It's about 6.5 feet above normal low tide. Flooding ongoing right now in Panama City on top of what's going on with the wind damage there.
That's not good. It still remains to be pretty well.
Yeah, this is still a very dangerous situation. It looks like finally, in the latest frames, the eye is at least shrinking on satellite. So that is very, very good news. Also, the minus 80 cloud tops have gone away. So that does mean that the storm is on its way out for weakening, but that does not mean that the storm is necessarily any weaker right now. It's just a trend that will be occurring as it moves further inland. Panama City seems to be on the very southwestern edge of the eye wall right now, and you guys should see at least an improvement, a little bit of an improvement in conditions in the next 15 minutes, and probably would be another 2 full hours before it's fully safe to step outside again.
Yeah, this is devastating.
And that's not even counting the areas that are to the north and east of Panama City that are also currently getting 145, 150 mile per hour winds. Like the storm.
155.
So yeah, here's another video that I just cited on Twitter if you want to
Yep.
pull that up.
Of course, it has to be shot vertically.
Yeah?
And you can see here. Oh, wow.
Entire thing just
Yeah, the entire tree just got knocked right over. And we'll show that again. This doesn't even look like it's in the worst of the winds, but you can see this entire tree. You can see it start to go, and it just falls right over. I don't know if it got all the way to the house or not, but that's not even in the strongest winds of the storm. Just realize that.
was cited from this is 18 minutes ago, and not exactly sure where in Panama City though.
Yeah, that
He said-
is.
He says Panama City Beach, so yeah, not in the core of the strongest winds.
Yep.
Same. And now 200,000 customers are reported to be without power in Florida.
200,000 out of power.
Yeah.
That's only going to continue to go up as this storm goes off to the north and east and produces major hurricane force winds.
Apparently,
can see-
115,000 of those power outages are coming from Tallahassee alone.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Tallahassee currently getting tropical storm force winds. No doubt about that. You take a look anywhere that you see in that red box on the radar image, that is where major hurricane force winds are currently occurring. And you need to be in shelter immediately if you're anywhere in that box.
And surge levels of about 5 feet being reported in St. Mark's right now and rising. The same general area where Hermine hit back in 2016 and
Yep.
produced, I think, a similar surge there. But with Michael's just continuing to increase there.
And yeah, this storm is a lot stronger than Hermine. 2 days ago, it wasn't expected to be any stronger than Hermine. And now, here it is. You know, we went on that stretch where it was like, oh, we haven't had a hurricane hit the United States in blah, 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 blah years. Now, here we are. And Florida just got their worst hurricane in a very long time.
Us has seen essentially 5 major hurricane impacts.
Yeah.
2 years now.
At least 5 major hurricane impacts, which is just insane to think of.
Probably 6 if you want to count Florence as being a really big storm.
Well, yeah, you have to count Florence because that dumped 3 feet of rain. I absolutely would count Florence. Anybody that doesn't count Florence in that is mental.
I was just saying major hurricane in terms of like Safford category, but in terms of damage, then certainly Florence would be high up there.
Because Florence is gonna have is gonna get at least a $50 billion price tag on it. Well, again, we're just scanning right now. We're just scanning through all the data, trying to find the latest damage reports, latest wind reports to bring to you right now as Hurricane Michael continues to move up and off to the north and east. It is starting to deteriorate on both radar and satellite. You'll see here on the latest rapid scan imagery from Slider on RAM, you'll see that the eye, eventually, if it loads, it doesn't want to load right now, so we'll go to this page, and you'll see right here that the eye is noticeably smaller now that it's inland. And now that the slider is opened up, you can see here very clearly that the eye is beginning to shrink, which is a good thing. It looks like that the absolute worst of the storm should be out of Panama City soon.
Okay, so the worst of storm is going to pass in a few minutes.
At least for Panama City, there's still easily 120, 130 mile an hour plus winds currently associated with the storm as it moves to the north and east of Panama City, and will likely retain major hurricane force winds all the way up till Interstate 10.
So I will be going now.
Alrighty.
Chat right now.
Any questions in the chat?
Nope.
Nope.
Still debating it whether or not it's a 5.
That debate's gonna go on until April, and probably forever. Yeah, that debate will go forever. Me, again, I don't think that there was conclusive enough evidence to put it up to 160 miles an hour. I think that there was barely enough for 155. I think that 175 mile an hour flight level wind was just barely enough to take it to 155. But I think that Raycon was inconclusive for anything stronger.
The trees down, Tallahassee and stuff of that nature, that'll only continue to get worse.
Yeah, because it's moving off to the north and east. The core is only going to get closer to Tallahassee. I don't think it'll get to hurricane force winds in Tallahassee. That should stay off to the north and west. Bainbridge in Georgia will probably get hurricane force winds. But Tallahassee should be okay.
I'm also just moving through rapid scroll. 6-foot surge now in St. Mark's.
All right, so that's what. So the storm surges are really starting to move in now.
Just generally just more reports of down extreme wind damage. Nothing from Morgan yet. Don't blame him. He's still in the eye wall.
Yep. Yeah, just give him time. I'm sure he's going to have plenty of I'm sure he's going to have plenty of data.
This final report is going to be comments. There's confusion in the chat as to whether or not Michael was a 5 at landfall. Officially, it did not make landfall.
It did not.
As a category 5.
Correct.
Anybody who says it was a 5, that is
wrong.
their opinion, and it's not really official information. Officially, it made landfall with winds of 155 miles an hour, which is just below the threshold of category 5, but still a huge, huge storm regardless. I mean, 5 mile an hour difference, it doesn't matter. And retirements also, I'm seeing people talk about that. Just wait.
Yeah.
You should actually come in. Don't worry about retirements. That won't be announced till
April.
So just
May
just
even.
back on that.
Yeah, let's just focus on the task at hand right now. And the task at hand is that we have a major hurricane currently going through the central panhandle in Florida, and it's moving north and east into Alabama and Georgia. And it'll be interesting to see if they extend the extreme wind warning to the north and east of what they currently have it at. And no, I think they might have to.
Yeah, I'm also
the storm
seeing
really hasn't lost a ton of steam.
a lot of talk about how unusual this thing was to make landfall during the dead of day, it seems. Yeah. I do notice that a lot of storms do tend to make landfall in the middle of the night.
Yeah, it
Situations
is.
in the middle of the
very
afternoon.
rare.
Like I mean, yeah, Harvey was in the middle of the night. Maria was in the middle of the night. Day. I think Florence made landfall in the middle of the night. That's a bit better because it's not as scary per se. See what's going on. But in the same regard, I mean, daylight, nighttime is not going to do anything to impact. It's just going to remain the same, regardless of whether or not it's day or night. First, Opal or this? This. Definitely, Michael. Let's see. Yeah, just reports of hotels and an earthquake, apparently.
An earthquake? Where?
Saying that the shaking of a hotel is comparable to that of an earthquake.
Oh, okay.
Up to 140 miles an hour at Panama City Beach, which is still on the very outskirts of the eye wall. It's still this is actually I'm also gonna post this one to the chat.
Alrighty.
That's insane.
Bringing it up on the stream. It's got to load, of course. 140-mile-an-hour winds at Panama City Beach. There you go, folks. That's what 140-mile-an-hour winds looks like. And remember, these winds were sustained for an hour at least. Maybe even 2 hours at this point. That's got to be absolutely deafening if you're in the middle of that. Just look at all of the flying debris. That's one thing I do want to point out, is just take a look at all of the stuff, all of the shrapnel, the sheet metal that's all flying around in the middle of this. If you're outside right now, you would just, it would be literally be like walking into a buckshot. Just shrapnel flying absolutely everywhere. That is a terrifying sight, to say the least.
I will. What's this? Picture of what the eye looked like. Someone went out in the eye and took a picture.
Alrighty, so
Picture quality.
that is definitely something that you should not do.
Satellite right now, and the eye does seem to be degrading just a little bit.
That's what I've been saying, is that the eye is slowly waning out. But it's still an incredibly dangerous situation.
All right, and then YouTube comments. So someone asking if it's made landfall. It has.
Yep.
To clear Panama City as we speak.
It is about to, well, at least the eye wall is going to clear Panama City shortly, probably by the time this stream ends. Which I do have a stream announcement to make in a couple of minutes, but continue.
Okay. Stuff like that. The position update should be coming in soon as well.
Yep.
And yeah, it's just wind damage, roof damage.
So tons of wind damage and roof damage is pretty much what we're seeing right now out of Panama City. All right. Well, it seems like that at least the absolute worst of this storm is starting to lift up off to the north and east of Panama City. It continues to be an extremely dangerous situation as the eye wall is now starting to approach Interstate 10. And I'm trying to figure out what interstate that is. I'm not 100% sure. It doesn't say. I don't know what interstate that is. That can't be 75?
Quick.
It
That
might be
is
71.
interstate. Talking about
The one that goes to the north out of Dothan, Alabama, goes through Montgomery to the north and west.
65.
That's what?
65.
No, the other one. 65 goes to the north and east, but there's one that goes to the southeast of Montgomery through Troy through Dothan and then goes down to Interstate 10.
I'm not seeing. I just see Highway 231.
Maybe that's what that is Highway 231. But it shows here as a major interstate.
Interesting.
Let me break out the maps here real quick. But the eyewall is about to get up to the Interstate 10 corridor, so major hurricane force winds about to be experienced in the Interstate 10 corridor. And it would not be surprising to me if they were to extend the current extreme wind warning to the north and east. All right, so let's see here. Yeah, that is Highway 231 that is being shown here. So this route here that goes up through Dothan and up through Troy, that is Highway 231. The major hurricane force wind should be getting to the Interstate 10 corridor right now between Ponce de Leon and Chattahoochee right now. So keep an eye out for that. Stay safe. I am going to be going off the air right now. However, Force 13 associate David Tones is supposed to be picking up the live stream as soon as he can. And then I don't know if Nathan will be doing more coverage after that. But that is going to be the end of the stream, at least as manned by me. And basically, do you have any last words, Hank?
If you're still in the path of the storm, make sure that you know what you're going to be doing in case the storm moves over. Know that the storm is intense. Power outages can extend well inland, even if you don't have these 155-mile-per-hour winds. So just make sure that you have everything ready, just in case the worst happens. And I will also say that the 2 p.m. position update just came out.
Yep.
Winds down to 150, and the pressure's up to 922.
Alrighty. And yeah, that's pretty much all that I have to say as well is obviously if you're within the extreme wind warning, please be in shelter right now. Just stay safe out there. Obviously, don't go out during the storm, especially if you are in the eye. Please don't go out into the eye of the storm and try to get one of those crazy photos. Stay safe and stay indoors. It looks like the absolute worst is going to be over for Panama City. But this storm is going to cause more problems as it moves up and off to the north and east. Anyways, that is going to conclude it for my end of the live stream, anyways. And hopefully, David Tones is going to be picking this stream up in in a I lost my words. In a short manner. We'll be back in a moment.